at 2 o'clock in the morning. The only sound on this deserted Utah lake was the sound of the wind. The water was completely still, as if standing still. And then in the dim moonlight I saw him, a man half submerged, with only his neck out of the water. He was staring right at me. His eyes were open, unblinking. And the scariest thing? He was standing in the same place I had seen him the first time. And when I returned a week later, he was still standing there, not moving, not breathing. And now I know he's not human. There's a small town in Muir County, Utah, where there's a lake people call Steel Lake. People say the lake is alive, but I never believed it. My name is Eric Miller, and I'm a nature photographer. Strange places, mysterious locations, quiet places, these were all my favorite things. But that lake, the day I first went to see it, I had no idea that it would change my life. The first night I took my camera and stood on the shore of the lake after sunset. The air was cool, there was a light mist covering the water. I took a few pictures and then started setting up the tripod. Suddenly my eyes fell on the water in the distance. A man was clearly visible, submerged up to his neck in water. I was shocked. I picked up the camera and zoomed in. The figure stood perfectly still. Everything below his neck was in water, but his face. Strangely, completely lifeless. No expression, no fear, no movement. I thought maybe some fisherman had been standing in the water for a long time, thinking of going home. But why would someone stand in the water for so long on such a cold night? I called out, "Hey, are you okay?" No answer. I called out again, "Sir, do you need help?" But he just stared, as if his eyes could only see me, nothing around him. I felt uneasy. I thought about going closer, but there was no safe way to reach the middle of the lake. I decided to come back in the morning and see. The next morning when I returned, the sun was shining. I took out my binoculars. My heart started pounding. The man was still there. It was impossible. How could a man stand in the water all night? He didn't get weak, didn't move, or drown. He just stood there. I went to the local ranger station and told them. The ranger said with a slight smile, "Oh, you saw him?" The locals call him the Standing Man. Standing Man? Who is he? Is he even human? I asked, surprised. The ranger said, "No one knows. Some say he is a member of an old family who drowned in the lake and has not been able to get out yet. Some say he is the ghost of the lake. But one thing is certain, no one goes near him. Those who went did not come back." A cold wave ran through my body. I laughed, but that laughter was trembling with fear. Third night, voices. I heard a faint echoing sound above the lake, as if someone was calling my name very softly, from very deep water. Eric, Eric, I looked back in shock. The lake was completely silent, but that standing man, he now seemed a little closer than before. How is this possible? He never moved. Then how could he come closer? I took out my camera, zoomed in. His eyes were not the same as before. They were now completely white, as if there was nothing inside, as if he was a hollow shell. I decided to leave immediately. Fourth day, disappearance. A 12-year-old boy went missing in the town. His bicycle was found near the lake. Everyone was worried. I also went there to help him, but when I reached the shore, that standing man seemed closer than before. Now he had moved away from the middle of the lake and was half a mile from the shore. My heart sank. If he was really human, how could he change his place without moving a single step? I shook off my inner fear and tried to take photographs, but the truth is that photography is no longer my job. All that was left was to know the truth. On the fifth night, the first real night, I sat by the lake with a camping light. There was a strange smell in the air, like wet soil, and a mixed scent of rotten things. The water was completely still. Then suddenly a bubble rose. Then another, then a third, and then a little higher. I lifted the light. The water of the lake felt like it was boiling under the man's feet. Some long, black thin hands seemed to be holding him from below. I stepped back in horror and watched as the standing man slowly, imperceptibly slid towards the shore. Half of his body was now coming out of the water, but the body was no normal body. The skin was torn. The bones were broken, and it looked like this body had been dead a long time. I tried to run, but a terrible scream rose from the bottom of the lake, a scream that would stop even the earth. Barry Ake froze like a stone. Night 6. The truth I shouldn't have known, what I had seen last night, shook me to the core. I decided to look through the town's ancient records. In an old file at the library, I found a news story from 1954. 3 people missing in the lake. Only one body was found, standing up to his neck in water. The image was blurry, but the face was the same. Standing man. My breath stopped. At that time, people called it an accident, but the truth was that the man had been caught by something in the lake. On the 7th night, the final collision, I told myself that I would go to the lake for the last time. Just once. The final search for the truth. When I got there, the lake was covered in fog. It was so cold that even my breath came out as smoke. I turned on the light, and Standing Man was now only a few steps away from the shore. His eyes were now completely black, and blurred human shapes were emerging from the water below him. As if the water had imprisoned several people, both alive and dead. He moved forward slowly. Water didn't drip from his feet because there was no ground under his feet. He was just gliding through the air. I started to back away in fear. He moved for the first time, like a dry tree snapping. His head turned towards me with a jerk. Eric, come. Closer I ran. I ran blindly through the forest. I could hear the sound of water screaming and bubbling behind me. I didn't stop until the end of the town. It's been 2 weeks now. I've never dared to go back to the lake, but the scariest thing? I heard water dripping outside my window last night. I went outside to look. There was no lake or water outside, just wet footprints on the door. And this morning, there was a muddy mark in front of my house, like a man standing up to his neck in water asterisk watching me. I know he is looking for me. And one day, he will be found. Because people tied to the body of a lake never leave their prey.